All right, so in the last video, we talked about how having a calendar is the single most important productivity app. I would argue that the second most important productivity app is having some kind of to-do list manager. If you want, you can use paper to-do lists, but the apps these days are just so good. It doesn't really matter what app you use. You can use Apple Reminders, you can use Google Keep, you can use To-Do, you can use Todoist, you can use Things. I personally quite like using Things if I'm working on personal stuff. I quite like using Todoist if it's more team-based stuff because it's more cross-platform and I can use it with my team. But the main thing is we need to have some kind of app to manage our projects and manage our actions or tasks for those projects. And the reason this is in our pilot section is because the to-do list dictates what we're gonna do for a given day. And so in the morning, I will have my coffee, do my shower, do my morning pages, and then figure out based on my project list, my task list, and my calendar, what I need to get done that day. And again, kind of going back to the previous video, I'm gonna time block the various things that I need to do. There's a few things that I like to keep in mind when it comes to to-do lists. The first thing is that I don't actually think of it as a to-do list. I think of my whole thing as a might-do list. And this is another tip from this book, Make Time, very good book. Link in the video description if you want to check it out. I think of my to-do list as a might-do list, i.e. it's a list of all my projects that I've got going and all the tasks associated with them that I've got going. And those are categorized into different areas of responsibility, as we talked about in the Horizons of Focus video. But the reason it's a might-do list is because every day I have the option of what I want to get done from that list, just based on how life is going and what videos need to come out and whether I'm working that day or whether I've got a shift coming up or anything like that. Back in the day when I used to think of them as a to-do list, I would refrain from adding things to it and like creating a new project and stuff because it would feel like it's kind of weighing on me. But as soon as I started thinking of it as a might-do list, now suddenly I just add projects to it all the time, like anything I'm thinking of. Like yesterday, for example, I met up with a few fans for coffee in Cambridge, and one of them said that I should seriously consider taking salsa dancing lessons. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. I've kind of always wanted to do that. And so I created a project in my to-do list manager of start taking salsa lessons. And it's a might-do list, it's not a to-do list. So that means that every day when I kind of glance through my list of projects, I'll be able to see, oh, okay, what's the stuff that I want to get done today and what's the stuff that I want to get done this week. And I think that way of separating out a to-do list into either things to get done today or things to get done this week, or just things to get done generally, those are the three levels of structure that I quite like. Because when it comes to the stuff I'm getting done today, that's the stuff I'm gonna do today, obviously. And then I have a next level, which is stuff I wanna get done this week. And so I will usually consult my this week list to figure out what I need to do today. And then everything else on it is completely irrelevant because it can just be done at any time. And I've tried experimenting with more granular levels of detail in the past where I'll plan out kind of what I'm doing today and what I'm doing tomorrow and what I'm doing the day after. But I always found that because life just gets in the way, I was never really able to stick to my plan for what I'm gonna get done tomorrow and the day after. So now each morning I refresh my today list and I just kind of decide, here are the things I'm gonna get done today, and I'll add stuff to the list for this week, and then I'll forget about everything else. So it starts off as a might-do list, which is the list of absolutely everything, and then the to-do list is just the stuff that I'm doing today. And because I'm the pilot first thing in the morning, that is what I'm doing after having my coffee and after doing some journaling. I'm figuring out, all right, what are the bits that I actually want to get done today? And again, this kind of takes a little bit of practice to start actually consulting your to-do list and actually start using it as a way of living life. The whole way that I like to think about this productivity stuff is that only in the morning I'm going to be the pilot, and then the rest of the day I want to be the plane. I want to be executing easily on the orders of the pilot. Because I think when it comes to productivity, one of the areas in which I used to struggle is when I didn't know what I needed to do. And so I'd get something done and then I'll be like, okay, what do I have to do next? And then I'll have to go back into pilot mode and look at my list and be like, oh, and just that friction would mean that I end up just procrastinating the day away. But ever since I started kind of literally deciding my to-do list and time blocking first thing in the morning, being the pilot, I can now get so much more done because now I'm literally just executing on the orders that I've already said I'm gonna do. I don't have to think about it anymore. So that's kind of one way of thinking about a to-do list. There's a few other ways of thinking about it, which you might find helpful. There's one idea, again, from Make Time, which is all about the daily highlight. And that is saying that every single day, we're only gonna have one and only one highlight for the day. That highlight can be anything. It can be something you have to get done, like finish essay that's due in tomorrow. Or it can be something that's gonna bring you joy, like, for example, hang out with friends in the evening or something like that. But the point is, our day needs to have some kind of highlight that we absolutely have to get done in that particular day. So that's one way of thinking about a to-do list. And so for me, when I'm deciding what I'm gonna do in a day, in my mind, or if I'm making a list on paper, I will write a little H and I will say like one of these is the thing that absolutely has to get done, and everything else is kind of optional. Very rarely do I have multiple things that absolutely have to get done on a given day. And so I'll try and give myself only a single daily highlight. The other strategy that we can use that some people find helpful is called Eat the Frog. And the frog is the unpleasant bit on your to-do list. The idea is that you want to eat the frog first thing in the morning. So as soon as you've done your being a pilot, the very first thing you want to get done is the frog, the thing that you've been putting off, the thing that's a little bit icky, the thing that you really don't want to do. Because if you just bash through and tackle that first thing in the morning, then it'll get done and then you'll be so happy for the rest of the day. And actually there's a quote from Mark Twain who this idea is from. He says, "If the first thing you do each morning is to eat a live frog, you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that it's probably the worst thing that's going to happen to you all day long." And so for me, the highlight of the day, the daily highlight, is the task I absolutely have to get done. But the frog is the most unpleasant task of the day. And sometimes they're the same, but oftentimes they're not. Depending on how I'm feeling, either I will tackle my daily highlight first thing, or I will tackle the frog. The frog is usually something like reply to this email, because I always have like a real sense of when I'm having to reply to emails. No offense if anyone's tried to email me. And so often like replying to an important email will be the very first thing on my list so I can eat the frog. And then I'll do my daily highlight. I'll schedule in my daily highlight to do at some point during the day. The final thing about to-do lists is that when we're setting our plan for the day, we don't want to overcommit. We don't want to do too many things. One way of thinking about this is the 1-3-5 rule, which is that you have 1 big task, 3 medium tasks, and 5 small tasks. And that adds up to 9. And that's still quite a lot of things to get done in a day. But it's very tempting. Like I'm certainly very tempted to be like, oh, film a video about this, film like 8 videos today, because filming a video only takes half an hour. So, you know, if I film 8 videos, that'll only take 4 hours. That never, ever, ever ends up happening. Usually I can just film 1, maybe 2 videos in a day, because it's usually such a big kind of mental endeavor to actually film a video. So the 1-3-5 rule is kind of helpful. But to be honest, what I just keep in mind is that I kind of want my day to be relatively chill. I want to do high leverage things. And that means filling up my today to-do list with like a load of stuff that I can't be bothered with is not particularly helpful. So I try and keep the list kind of small. I keep in mind the daily highlight, and I keep in mind the concept of eating the frog. And that is how I personally deal with to-do/my to-do lists. So action point, if you don't yet have a to-do list system set up, then please make one, because it will change your life. It can be on paper if you like. I prefer to use apps. The one I'm using these days is Things, which is Mac only. Otherwise, literally any to-do list app works. They're all the same. They all basically do the same thing. So don't worry about the apps. The apps are fairly, trivial, fairly unimportant. But yeah, to-do list, super important. Second only to a calendar. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.